How do you do? And welcome back. This is Hap Weldy, the civil rights love leader for Racism Interrupted USA. And thanks for checking us out once again. This episode, we will be discussing One United Worship, a banner under Racism Interrupted USA. And frankly, this is what started it all for me back about 10 years ago, and if not a little bit further than that, when basically trying to figure out as a Christian man why it was so difficult for our Christian community to love each other well. And so I started pondering that a little bit and a couple other issues, and it got to be of significant interest to the point that I would do some research and try and figure out what it was that we were just not doing well. So started One United Worship with the hope of trying to bring predominantly black and white churches together, and really started to talk to a few local leaders here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, and soon to come to find out that I really had a major lapse in my study and knowledge of racial relations and the civil rights movement back in the 50s and 60s in particular. So stepped away from that and decided to brush up a little bit. And so therefore, I started One United Worship, and then got a little more involved in what indeed was the history. Now, one of the things that really came to light for me as I began my study, and really a catalyst to this particular subject for bringing folks together, was back in 1960, April of 1960. Martin Luther King had an opportunity to speak to Meet the Press program, and it was a real thought provoker for me, and wondered why it was that we were still having trouble coming together. And I'm going to, without a lot of other introduction, I'm going to go ahead and play the video for you, and we'll talk a little bit on the other side. Here's the video. Martin Luther King, April of 1960 on Meet the Press, NBC.
Through the 5 appearances of Martin Luther King here on Meet the Press, this one is from April of 1960. And is particularly appropriate in light of the discussion we've had of Reverend Jeremiah Wright and some of the things said in black churches. Here's Dr. King talking about the differences between white churches and black churches and what happens at 11 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. Let's watch.
Dr. King, how many white people are members of your church in Atlanta?
I don't have any white members, Mr. Van der Linden.
Well, sir, you said integration is the law of the land, and it's morally right, whereas segregation is morally wrong, and the president should do something about it. Do you mean the president should issue an order that the schools and the churches and the stores should all be integrated?
I think it is one of the tragedies of our nation, one of the shameful tragedies, that 11 o'clock on Sunday morning is one of the most segregated hours, if not the most segregated hours in Christian America. I definitely think the Christian church should be integrated, and any church that stands against integration and that has a segregated body is standing against the spirit and the teachings of Jesus Christ, and it fails to be a true witness. But this is something that the church will have to do itself. I don't think church integration will come through legal processes. I might say that my church is not a segregating church. It's segregated, but not segregating. It would welcome white members.
Dr. Dyson, 40 years later, we still have segregated churches.
It's so true. The quote Dr. King was citing there was from Liston Pope, who was the dean of Yale Divinity School, a white man. So even in his acknowledgement of this segregated social hour, Dr. King was acknowledging a tradition that has been acknowledged by white liberals. But here's the tragedy. In black churches, things are said and done that may offend or somehow surprise the broad swath of white Americans. But the white church kicked the black church out, so to speak. The black church began in racial politics. When the white church subordinated its theology to its politics, black people had to leave because they didn't want to worship equally. Black people then celebrate God in different ways, but they also many similar ways to white America, but they also articulate the rage, the grief, the pain, the suffering, the agony. And they try to transmute that pain, suffering, grief, and agony in light of their commitment to God. When you heard Jeremiah write, what you heard was the latter-day Martin Luther King Jr. When you hear Barack Obama, you hear Dr. King up to 1965. In black churches, Martin Luther King Jr. said, "We have been subject to American genocide." He also went on to say that he didn't want to be treated the same way that Japanese brothers and sisters did when they were put in the concentration camps. And the sermon he was going to deliver to him the next Sunday, were he to live, found in the effects after he was murdered, was a sermon called "Why America May Go to Hell." That's the Martin Luther King Jr. with which the broad swath of America is not familiar, and they don't understand within the black church the articulation of a theological tradition that responds to hatred, doesn't respond in hate but prophetic anger, and then ultimately love enough to speak justice to the nation. Justice is what love sounds like when it speaks in public, and Martin Luther King Jr. did.
And I hope you come out of that video with the same kind of questions and head scratching that I did. Seems like we have made some strides, some gains, accomplishments, and so forth in regards to bringing a multi-ethnic worship community together in spots. But boy, do we have such a long way to go. So that is one of the major speeches that King delivered that really was a major piece to how all of this got started. In addition to that, there was a prayer by Jesus, and I'm going to read that to you here quickly. And this is enough for me, and it's something that was the last prayer. I think it was the last prayer known to his followers before he was executed and hung on the cross. So you'll find this in the Holy Scriptures with John 17, 20 through 23, and it reads as follows. "My prayer is not for them alone." This is Jesus speaking. "I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one. Father, just as you are in me and I am in you, may they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. I have given them glory that you gave me, that they may be the one as we are one. I in them and you in me, so that they may be brought to complete unity. Then the world will know that you sent me and have loved them even as you have loved me." Again, John 17, 20 through 23. A very rich chapter in the book of John. Hope you will look at that. But that simply was enough for me, that we need to be seen as one. This is Jesus' prayer, just like his commandments, the first and second one, which he basically says, love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love too, the second commandment, love your neighbor just as well. So the commandments, along with this Jesus, the prayer in John 17 speaks volumes to me, and it's enough for me to want to continue and talk love and talk about unity. And I hope this prayer will mean a lot to you as well. Under the banner of One United Worship, wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we do, what our plans are, what specifically this thing is all about. And so let me take a moment real quick and go through this. We're hoping to decrease the segregation of people groups of Christian churches, number one. Assisting with church strategies on developing multi-ethnic worship communities. Encourage long-lasting doing efforts of partner churches. Encourage vision statement changes to promote togetherness. So we're talking to churches and asking them to make part of their mission statement the opportunity or the desire to have multi-ethnic worship community and continue to put value to that and measure against that to see how they're doing. So with that in place, it becomes a radar moment and something that is important to the church community at large, And we're very, very interested in making sure people add that to the vision statements for the church. Also, Strength to Love, we talked a little bit about that, I guess, in the last podcast. So if you would like to receive a free copy of this one, send me an email, and glad to send it over to you. This is one of the best books that I've ever read, and I think you'll get a whole lot out of that. And then finally, trying to assist developing curriculum for churches, for building an understanding and interpreting things that are important in regards to bringing races together. Today, I'd like to change up just a little bit different, and we're going to end with a song. We talked a little bit last time about how really getting a hold on race relations and improving race relations really starts with me, starts with us individually. A regular, disciplined examination of our soul, our biases, and trying to fix them accordingly. And just when I was going to introduce a great video, or plural, let's make that plural, from Toby Mac, heard through the publishing process on YouTube that I could not include a copywritten music video attached to my video or in the video. So I hope you'll take the time. I'm trying to put the link right below it, or make sure it accompanies this video. There's two of them. One that tells the backstory of It Starts With Me, and then the actual music video Starts With Me from Toby Mac. So I hope you'll take time to click. It's definitely worth it. So kind of bummed out that we can't include it, but nonetheless, we'll make it available, and with the hopes that you'll take time. So it's a great song, and hits the nail on the head in regards to what we believe here at Racism Interrupted USA and One United Worship. So do it now. Hey, thanks once again for staying with us. Hope you enjoyed Toby Mac and his song Starts With Me. And we're going to finish it up by saying, hey, if you're considering a donation, we'd love for you to participate in the mission. Things are getting just a little bit low for us, as I'm sure many folks are, especially during the COVID epidemic. So until next time, this is Hap Weldy for Racism Interrupted, One United Worship. And at the Fraserburg Studios, we wish you a very, very good day.